All right, welcome back to the channel. So Bob Arum puts all of this bop going on in the UK to rest and explains the real situation that's going on with the Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury fight and Deontay Wilder step aside rumors. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back. And thank you to the longtime supporters and subscribers to the channel. Thank you everybody that has joined as a member to the channel, supports on the live streams through the super chats and the Cash App, the super chats and the Cash App donations. You guys really help these projects go. And thank you to everybody on Patreon, my 50 cats that hang tough with me outside of this boxing world. Thank you guys very much for your support. Let's get right into it and talk about all this conversation going on. We've done several videos over the last couple of days talking about it because we're in a quarantine and the business of boxing is the only thing that we really can talk about. So one of the big issues in the business of boxing today is whether or not Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury will be made in replace of Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev. So for people that are not familiar, give you just a brief, real brief. The WBC heavyweight champion of the world is Tyson Fury. He won that belt off of Deontay Wilder this February. In the contract for that fight, there was a rematch clause, and Deontay Wilder exercised that rematch clause. So now Tyson Fury is obligated to rematch Deontay Wilder immediately. This was agreed to before the signing of the second fight, and it was mutual. They both knew that no matter what happened in that fight, they would be having a rematch. There is nothing in there that said if one guy knocks out the other, the rematch does not have to happen. Tyson, the most likely person heading into that fight to have been knocked out, many people would have thought would have been Tyson Fury, but it happened the other way around. And if Tyson Fury had been knocked out, Deontay Wilder would have had to honor that agreement and give him the rematch. Now, we enter into a scenario where we have this virus and there's a lot of things being shut down. Boxing has been shut down. Other sports have been shut down. We're all familiar with it now. So conversations started coming on about, hey, let's just make the Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury fight. Let's just make it right now. Deontay Wilder was dominated. Nobody cares about Pulev. So let's make this fight right now. And so we're talking about Deontay Wilder being given asked to take step aside money, things like that, right? As if anybody is going to pay that man $40 million worth of step aside money. Stop saying that, you morons. Anyway, back on code. All of that leads to this. Now, this weekend, there's been conversations where they said that where the rumors have been, this is put out by ESPN, that there has actually been negotiations for the fight that have begun. That negotiations mean that you're literally having conversations about setting up the fight, whether or not you're going to have where the venue is going to be, how much money is, what's the percentage split between the fighters, all of those deals. Bob Arum has said none of that stuff has begun. Cut right to the chase. None of that is taking place. There are no negotiations taking place between Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury's camp, and Anthony Joshua's camp. There's been no conversations between Tyson Fury's camp and Deontay Wilder's camp about step-aside money. There's been no conversations held between Bob Arum and Top Rank and Matchroom about having Pulev step aside. Both of these guys are in fights. One is a mandated fight by, I do believe, the IBF in Anthony Joshua's case. The other one is a mandated fight by agreement, a rematch clause. So Bob Arum says none of that is taking place, and he explains what's actually taking place. And according to Bob Arum, this is what's taking place. that Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn have looked for venues. And they have received offers for people that are coming to them saying, we want the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight to take place in our country because the UK boxing is shut down, because the United States boxing is shut down, and our boxing is not shut down. So there's an opportunity for you guys to make some money. And Eddie Hearn was fielding those, and Frank Warren is fielding those. That's what I'm getting out of the conversation from Bob Arum. So what does that mean? Does that mean negotiations have begun? No. That means that they're just listening to what the offers that are being made for that fight. And it's obvious that a lot of people would make offers for that fight. It's an undisputed heavyweight championship fight. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen. My take on the matter is that it is a reasonable and responsible thing for them to do that. For Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn to listen to people that come to them and say, hey, we want this fight. This is how much money we would pay for the fight. This is how the fight would be staged. This is how many people we think we can get in the stands. And so that they can look at the scenario, come up and know how much money that they could make in that scenario. Whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in Asia, wherever it is, doesn't matter. It's responsible for them to go through that. Now, would it be responsible for them to go through that if there was not a virus and so many lockdowns and issues going on? No, that wouldn't. That would be in that scenario, I would say, oh no, man, that's kind of bad faith, or you make me nervous about whether you're trying to pull out of the fight. In the scenario that we're in, that's just financially responsible. It's just financially responsible. And I don't hold any ill will towards Tyson Fury's camp for looking into those potentialities, nor Eddie Hearn for looking into those potentialities, or if the other parties involved were doing the same thing. If Deontay Wilder was saying, let me see, how much do I think could I get for this fight in the United States? And Kubrat Pulev, I don't know where he's from, Poland. I don't think he's from Poland, but wherever he's from, if he was willing to do that there, because we don't know when boxing is going to be with boxing with crowds. Boxing at all or boxing with crowds are going to be allowed in the United States or in the UK or where Kubrat Pulev is from. So you're going to have, but yet and still people still have bills to pay. People still have salaries that they have to pay, to the extent that they didn't lay off or furlough workers. It's just what you have to do because the situation is just so, because the situation is so up in the air. And it's reasonable. That's reasonable for those guys to do it because they want to have their ducks in a row in case we find out that, the United States is not going to have live boxing is not going to have, boxing with crowds until, April of 2021, June of 2021, something like that. If that wound up being the case, then, and I get shivers just saying that, man, please let this guy come quicker than that. It would be, those guys have to say, all right, well, this is the scenario. Look, we got to eat. We got to keep the company rolling. This is what we'll do. Hey, we're going to have this fight here, but we're going to get Deontay. We're going to guarantee you that you get the winner of this fight, period. And Pulev, will pay, the winner of that fight, Pulev gets the winner of that fight. Right. And just kind of stack them like that. If that's capable to, if that's possible. But at the end of the day, man, as much as I get on Top Rank, man, Top Rank needs to stay in business. They got to do what they got to do to stay in business. Same thing goes for Matchroom Boxing. They got to do this. They have to do what they got to do to stay in business. PBC's got to do what they got to do to stay in business. And so the whole negotiating thing, the whole going to try to find venues to plan B, looking for plan B, there's no issue with that. However, for people to act as if they're in active negotiations for the fight, right? Like they are they're sitting down talking about monies, talking about timing and all that. That's just According to Bob Arum, that's not true. And that's not anything that's been, the funny thing is, that's not even been, nobody that is connected with the situation has even said that. I don't even think Eddie Hearn has said that. I think he said that he's received offers or something. And when he's saying that, he may very well be talking about the venues. However, now I know that Eddie Hearn is, and I said this in my last video, or at least I believe what Eddie Hearn is doing is he's letting out the information about, venues approaching him for the fight, like he always does, to put public pressure on the people that he wants to make, if he wants to make that fight, right? Putting pressure on people to make people do public pressure on people by saying things in the media in order to make it harder for them or make it more likely that they will do exactly what Eddie Hearn wants to do. And I think, and I said that in my last video, and after I hear this from Bob Arum, I'm convinced that the same thing applies here. But it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section, man. Thank you guys so much for your support and talking boxing with me. And with that, I'm out. Peace.